but like the power of your words and the way you talk about yourself. And I was talking to my friend, she is visiting from Dallas, and we were catching up and just talking about things we were struggling with or negative thoughts we have about themselves. And I was like, yeah, no, I literally think that I'm lazy, ugly, annoying, etc. And she was like, you have to change that every morning. And I was like, Chase, this is a little corny, but she's like, every morning I wake up like, I love my life, I love my friends, I love my home, I'm going to be successful, I am beautiful. And I was like, the corniest stuff is corny because it's good and it works. And it's not corny. It's actually just so genuine and positive. And I have gone through so many negative things that I'm learning to view the positive as real, not corny. I think that's why I've always coined it corny, because it seems impossible to be happy.
Welcome to Normalize the Conversation by Inspiring My Generation. I'm your host, Francesca Reicheter, and today I'm joined by Kelly Uchima, a creator and advocate who openly struggles about body image, mental health, and her experiences with IBS, eating disorders, and addiction to remind others they're not alone. In this episode, we talk about what it really looks like to struggle: burnout, therapy, medication, and the pressure to keep showing up when you don't feel okay. This conversation is honest, real, and a reminder that you don't have to have it all together to keep going. Kelly, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited for this conversation, but before we begin, I want to check in. How are you really?
I'm pretty good. I would say that I just stuffed my mouth with some salad because I was really hungry. I'd been working all morning. I was supposed to work out, but I didn't. I was supposed to go on a long walk, but I walked my dog for like 10 minutes. And I think even saying that right now, it's cool to think about how we just have to do what we can do and have to be proud of that. It's like you set yourself up to have all these goals, and like sometimes you're just not feeling it. And now we're here. How are you doing, really?
I relate to that so much this morning. I had this idea that I was going to get up early and go for a walk. And I just woke up and I was like, I don't have the energy to do more than exist today, which is not what I really love in the mornings. So I'm having one of those days where I'm just trying to breathe through it. And the one thing that helps me is having conversations with people who get it. So thanks for being here with me.
Aw, and you have to like also realize, wow, you made it to recording a podcast. Like that's still showing up. Like sometimes when I feel really overwhelmed or I don't want to exist, like you just said, I will cancel things, and I'm really leaning into not doing that. Still showing up, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So good job, girl.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a big thing I struggled with for so long, is balancing that. When can I show up? Like when is it actually beneficial for me to show up and really be there and keep going? And when do I need to take that rest and tell myself like, no, you need more time to breathe? And I've learned with the podcast, it also depends on the topic. If it's going to be something that's
totally,
or it's something that requires a lot of brain power, I'm like, maybe reschedule. But when it's someone who also just gets it and it's like, I need to feel less alone, it's so much easier to show up and want to be there for myself and hopefully be there for someone else too.
Yeah, and we don't have to perform. That's something that I have learned over time. Like I grew up in a household where I think my parents were very performative, just like the older generations. It's about always saving face and putting a good image out as families. And I did that for almost my whole life. And now, I mean, I'm 32. So I really do think, unfortunately, things come with experience and or age. I'm just like, I don't have to. Even small things like when I go to an event sometimes, obviously there are ones where you have to get dressed cute and wear makeup. But a lot of times I'm like, do I really have to? It's the small things. You just have to give yourself permission to be like, I don't have to be perfect. And really no one cares, except for like, yeah, there are some moments where people will be like, what are you doing? You look crazy coming to this nice event in jeans.
Right. Perfect, because that's something I struggle with so much, is feeling like I always perform. Feeling like
for who, right? Like who wants that? Who really wants to see the performing side of you?
That's so true. Like at events, one of my big things that I've learned lately is I try to show up exactly when I have to be there instead of having to put a smile on my face
Mm.
all day when I don't have the
Hmm.
energy to. I'm also not a big hugger. And when I go to events, for some reason, everyone I don't know wants to come up and hug me. So I've learned that if I have to be there, I am present. And if I don't, like, I don't have to sit there and just smile and pretend like I'm super excited.
That is so good for me to know because if we meet in real life, I'm a huge hugger, but I have a limited social battery. I have ADHD, I deal with anxiety, depression. I do have it all under control and I'm very at peace with it, but I'm having fun like at an event. I'm so chatty, but once I'm done, it's like my face can no longer smile and I go into a corner. And my friends will laugh. Sometimes they'll just point at me and they're like, "Oh, you're done." And I really don't know why. It's like I'm turned off completely. And I don't make it negative for anyone, but I just know my limit. Like I go to bed at 9 p.m., actually like 8:30. So I have a limit.
Okay. Actually, same. And it
Really?
makes my friends so annoyed. They're like, let's go out. And I'm like, we're
No.
home by 8.
No. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Oh yeah, I stopped going out even before then. So I mean, at least your friends do encourage you, but like you don't have to. It's also not that fun. Like I'm so sorry, but I don't think going out is fun. And I really tried. Like in my 20s, I'd be like, "Let's go out drinking, let's go dance." And like, okay, like after 20 minutes, I'm like, "Yo, I'm sweaty. I'm tired. None of these guys want to talk to me." It's like I would never, I feel like I never understood how to really enjoy those moments with your girlfriend. And that is a big regret that I have. I think when I was younger, I was just like so insecure, so self-conscious. And when you lack such confidence, it makes it easy to obsess about yourself. So if I was really present, I probably would have enjoyed the time with my girlfriends, but I just couldn't. And I was so desperate for male validation because I've had issues like with my dad and prior relationships. And I was like, oh, if I could redo it, I probably would have fun.
It's so hard. It's so hard when you
Hmm.
have that insecurity and you're so in your head. And that's something that, again, I relate to. And it's so, for me, it's been such a hard, like, trying to, like, if you have enough wine, then maybe you're not so much in your head, but then you don't feel as well in the morning. So it's like balancing, knowing that I don't need to go out and have a few glasses to be excited. If I don't want to be there, I can say, no, I actually want to take my medication at 8 o'clock and
Yes.
get to bed, unless it's a special occasion. Like my brother got married last weekend and
Oh,
I
congrats.
got to officiate. So I'm making it
It is all about you. I mean, they
right.
wouldn't have a wedding without you.
Exactly. I was right in the center.
Yes, ma'am.
I like for that, I was dancing and having fun for hours. So it's like learning to balance it has been so hard. I finally got to a point, I think, where I'm like, I can distinguish this is important and it is fun versus no way am I going out after 8 o'clock.
Yeah, wait, what's the medication at 8 p.m.? Because I take a medication at 8:30. What's yours?
Okay, so mine is my mood stabilizer. I take it at
Work.
8:05 every single
Mm.
day. And then I take medication for my migraines at 8:05 a.m. I'm very like 8:05
Okay.
is my time.
Okay. And the mood stabilizer is for what condition do you have?
Bipolar 2.
Okay, work. Look at you, just on it. I take trazodone for sleep because I have serious sleep issues, and then every morning I take Prozac for anxiety. I take Wellbutrin for depression and like focus. And so I just love knowing what other people are taking because we're all just trying to do our best, and if it helps, it helps.
Yes. And how was it figuring out like what medication worked for you?
Oh, geez. I don't know if you've experienced this, so I'll go first, but I want to know about yours. I didn't even know what anxiety or depression was when I was younger. I definitely see a lot of signs of it starting from when I was 15 in high school. Really started to not show up to classes. I would ditch school. Even though I could get very good grades, I just wanted to disappear. And, during that time, you're starting to like fall in love or have first relationships or have friend issues. And I've gotten my heart broken and people are starting to smoke weed or drink. It just felt like such a chaotic, overwhelming time. And I couldn't keep up. I have always had a hard time with adjusting to like high school, college. Those are such big changes. And no one talks about how insane it is. You go from going to high school and then college and you have all these big lecture halls and your exams are crazy. Like, we need to be talking about that more because it's horrible.
No, literally, they say college is the best 4 years of your life. And then it's like no one talks about how actually difficult it is, that transition and trying to navigate it and figure out who you are, where you fit into the world, what you're going to do, as well as how to be social enough, showing up to your class, getting the good grades, managing when all your professors decide they're going to have a huge term paper and project and exam all within the same week. Like no one talks about that part. They're just like, it's the best 4 years of your life.
And I'm very happy for them, those who do. I had the complete opposite experience. I was so terrified. My mental health was awful. I had anorexia when I was 10. Obviously, it was never like addressed. I never recovered properly. Growing up in an Asian family, I'm half Japanese, half Chinese. And even though we are very modern and Americanized, we just don't talk about those things. I mean, that wasn't even widely known. We didn't have social media, barely had internet back then. Like no one is circulating articles about that. So when I got to college, my anxiety and depression was so bad. And I remember calling my mom because I had student debt and stuff. So I had a couple internships and a job and I was just like drowning. And I remember sitting in my office of my internship and I called my mom. I said, Mom, please, like, I don't want to be here anymore. I need to go to therapy. And her first instinct was kind of like, well, if you go to therapy, then there's something very wrong with you. And I was like, she didn't want me to go to therapy. And I was like, wait. I want to do something so that I stay alive and feel better. And she didn't mean anything by it, but that is such a very common reaction, just acknowledging a struggle. And I went to a psychiatrist at the college medical center. He was super old and weird, and I didn't want to go back to see him. So I tried a medication, stopped taking it. You know the drill. You take it, you stop. You don't go to your follow-up appointments, you stop. You're struggling. And then 2 years later, you're like, oh my God, I need to find someone. New doctor. Never go back to see that doctor. I did that for years.
Same. And people don't talk about that part of the journey, how hard it is to not only find the right fit for you, but then for you to want to go back and for you to want to continue taking the medication, to want to continue talking about it. It's sometimes for me, it was like, I felt like my therapist knew too much. And I was like, okay, I need a break. I need to figure this out on my own. I can't do this.
It's so much pressure to show up because when you're mentally struggling, you want to literally crawl into a hole and die. So having to be like, I'm going to take my meds. I will talk to you about my issues. I don't even want to deal with any of that. And I wish that when I was younger, that was just a conversation I could have heard from someone, because then I would understand, oh, okay, so it is normal to be really overwhelmed, but I still want to take the action to take care of myself and not, like you said, ditch my therapist for a year and a half.
Yeah. No, literally. And it's such a hard journey. And I mean, I love that we're talking about like going to therapy now, right? And it's becoming totally normalized. However, we're really not talking about how hard it is when you are struggling to go to therapy, right? Like it's fun and exciting to get that therapist appointment, maybe. But after that, actually having to go and talk about it, week after week, or I had one therapist about a year ago who was like, I need you here 3 times a week. I was like, I can't do this. I can't. I tried so hard. And then I was like, I quit therapy, and I quit for like 6 months because I was like, I can't. It's too much.
Why were they saying come in 3 times a week? And I gotta say, I'm actually very jealous because when I was 25, I had finally broken up with my narcissistically abusive boyfriend and I was in shambles. You know, when you're like codependent and you finally do no contact and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. They wouldn't let me see them 3 times a week. They're like, this is unhealthy. Like, you need to see me just once a week, twice a week max, but it's important that you build the skills. So what happened? What was that scenario? Why did they come to that conclusion?
I was
By the
like,
way, I don't think that's good. Even though I wanted it then, not good.
I moved across the country by myself. I was struggling to really make friends. I was feeling really isolated. I was slipping back into like a deeper depression and didn't know what to do. And because I didn't have a support system, I think my therapist was trying to be that support system. But we're sitting there, yeah, it didn't feel like the right fit for me. And maybe that's helpful in certain situations for people, but for me, it was too much.
Right.
And it was just talking about the most depressing things over and over again for 3 hours a week. And we would never, for me, I'm kind of solution oriented. So it was never like ending on a positive note or ending with some kind of tool that I can use. It would end after like I could say something like, oh, I had attempted to end my life that day. And she's like, okay, we'll come back tomorrow. And I'm like,
oh my. Hold on. This is so okay. I have a lot of questions.
Go for it.
So, this therapist, I appreciate their intention and what they wanted for you, but it is interesting to me that they were like, I want to be your support system. Did that feel like what she was trying to be for you? Did it feel more than just a therapist? Because honestly, not that she's a narcissist. I know I said I was in a narcissistic relationship and it seems like I'm obsessed with this, but my therapist, I remember she was like, some therapists can be very narcissistic because they want to save you. They want to help you. It's like this big God-like complex. Was there any of that? Or she was just like, you're not well, come see me 3 times a week?
See, I've been going back and forth on that because around the same time I had a professor who came up to me one day and he was like, I don't know why, but your energy just gives me this feeling of I need to protect you. And I was like, that's like interesting.
What was this? Hold on. Who was this professor? Like man, woman?
A man. He was older.
Scary.
Like a girl. So,
okay.
Yeah, I was like iffy on it. But
right.
When my therapist then was like, anytime I talked about a trauma I'd went through or the severity of the depression and attempts, it seemed like she just wanted me to come in more. So maybe it was like this desire to protect me that is in my energy that I don't realize. But I've been struggling so much to figure it out because my therapist now is like once a week, or we can even skip weeks. She's not, she's like, I know you're good. I'm here for you, but I'm not like babysitting you.
Yes. And it's actually so crazy when I think about when I was in therapy, because my first therapist, I had her like on and off when I could afford it or when I wasn't avoiding her for almost like 6 years, when your insurance runs out or you can't, whatever. So, and when I would go back to my ex-boyfriend, I wouldn't see her, obviously, because I can't tell her that. There was a time early in the beginning, she was the first person to help me understand that I was struggling with an eating disorder, binge eating. I felt so seen by her. She was really showing me so many things about myself that I never would have discovered. And she actually said to me in a session, hey, I just want you to know that I think you're starting to like idolize me and become too attached. So we need to change that, or else you'll have to see somebody else, because I don't want you to have that relationship with me or any therapist. And that is such a beautiful thing that she did, because I think that happens all the time. Like, this person is the most open I've ever been with anyone. And I feel like that happens with people and their therapists. And I mean, she's amazing for doing that, but that's what came to my mind when your therapist was like, let me protect you and see you all the time.
Yeah, 2 very different approaches.
Right.
I love when a therapist is able to like recognize these shifts in us and do what's right to help us and bring it to our attention in like a gentle way, not in a, I can't see you anymore, but they need to make some changes to prevent that. And like, I'm still here for you. We just got to make sure that I'm doing the best to support you and I'm the best fit. And that, I don't know if I've ever found a therapist like that yet. I like my current therapist, kind of newer. It's been a few months. So far she's good. My first therapist, post-psych unit, it got to a point where it was like, she was showing me pictures of her life and like, it was so much, I knew way too much of her life. And I was like, this feels more like a friendship. So it was so hard to finally find a therapist that wasn't like mixing these boundaries. Was it ever
Oh,
hard for you like that?
girl, let me unlock a memory. I will never forget this. So, when I was struggling severely with binge eating and I could not afford therapy, in Chicago, there were these like $5 drop in group sessions where people struggle with eating. It could be all socioeconomic backgrounds, wherever. It's just anyone who could come in, and it was free if you couldn't do the $5. And it was this room, it was a big circle of like 20 people, and everyone kind of just shares. You don't say certain numbers, you don't say certain trigger words, but it was fascinating and comforting to hear that these people struggled with eating and all that. Sometimes it made me feel better. But then they gave you an option to meet with a nutritionist or a dietitian. This woman was so frail mentally and emotionally. She had just had a baby who, poor thing, was having like difficulties in the ICU, and she would cry and show me photos of her baby during the sessions where I was literally dying of binge eating. I was like, does she need my support? What do I do? Eventually I stopped seeing her, but that was intense.
It's like you're trying to just, especially, I remember, so I struggled a lot with anorexia in
Mm-hmm.
from the ages of like 9 to 19 on and off.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it got really bad, and my school actually required me to meet with a nutritionist.
Wow.
And I can't imagine if the nutritionist was not fully present and just there to listen, because that was such a hard time when I'm struggling so hard with figuring out what I'm feeling that's leading to this, as well as making myself feel comfortable enough to change my approach to eating. It's if he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't fully there and really listening and helping me feel completely seen in all of it, I oh, I'm so sorry you had that experience, because I that was like a life-changing thing for me.
Oh, well, that's good. Wow, we're unlocking another memory. When I was in college, I started seeing a nutritionist because my therapist that I saw, you get like 3 free sessions at the counseling center at the University of Illinois, right? You know what's up. And I started seeing this nutritionist, and I freaking hated that she would weigh me.
I don't like that.
I didn't see her more than 2 times, and I totally understand if I don't know, I did not like that. And then, they said I was struggling so much that I should have done it inpatient, and I was like, who's going to pay for that?
So,
Like, how can you afford that? And I wasn't even, struggling that bad with money, but like that's what makes me sad about, I'm so glad that you have been able to seek treatments and, go do inpatient. I think I always kind of envy that, even though it means something terrible is happening and that's why you have to go. Sometimes it's so drastic that's the last chance. I want to hear more about your experiences doing inpatient or going to a facility, if that's okay.
yeah, oh my God, it was
Tell me,
worst
girl.
thing in the world. So,
Oh, I bet.
first of all, the bills you get afterwards, right? Just an ambulance ride from one facility to the next
Oh.
facility. Oh, okay. However, I digress. So, going into the
Mhm.
psych unit, my
When was this? Give me the timeline. What
yes.
led to this?
Okay. So, I had grown up really struggling, and
Right.
by the
I
time
love how we're like, same.
I needed this today.
Yeah.
By the time I was in college, I, for years, had this severe like anxiety, but no one like explained it to me or named it to me. Instead, I'd go to the hospital once a week and they would give me a steroid, and
What? Huh?
they're like, your chest wall is getting inflamed. And I'm like, well, maybe from like crying and panicking every day, all day, thinking I'm having a heart attack from the pain. And no one's going to talk to me about anxiety. They're just like, here's a steroid, go home.
I have never heard of them administering a steroid or a medication. I definitely do hear them dismissing it, but is that common?
I have no idea.
I gotta Google this after.
Right? So like, this wall's getting inflamed from this. So they're like, here you go home. And so I was convinced that everything was in my head, which made it so much worse. And I couldn't figure it out. And I started stuffing all these feelings inside. When I was 12 years old, I'd actually written down on a notebook, like my will, which I was 12. So it was to give my electronics.
That is the realest thing I've ever heard in my life.
To my brother.
100%.
It was so from the age of 12 on, I just didn't feel like I was going to make it. I was convinced I was just going to die young. And by the time you get that feel, did you get that?
Girl, I don't know how I'm at 32, and sometimes I'm still existential, and I'm like, you know what? If I went today, I think I would just like not have to deal with anything anymore, even though my life's great now. I'm like, I've always thought it was going to end. So it's hard to like transition out of like wanting it to end, even if your life's great. I'm like, yeah, but I'm tired.
Yeah. I say all the time, I'm like, I've shifted from I don't want to kill myself to I don't necessarily want to be alive. Like I'm here, and there's really great things that I'm grateful for.
Yes.
But I still haven't like gotten to that point where all of a sudden it's like, woohoo, yay life.
No. And I just feel like, we've seen a lot. We've experienced too much for one's lifetime, but continue. Okay, so steroids.
Yeah.
More stuffing down, panic attacks, worse.
So when I was 12, I had started a blog. And when I was 15, I turned it into, it wasn't a podcasting back then. It was like Blog Talk Radio. You could call in live to my radio show at 4:00 on Sundays. And I would just talk about these things that I was going through or lessons I was learning, hoping someone out there understood. And of course, kids bullied me for it. So eventually I just
That's embarrassing on them, but I'm so sorry that you experienced that. And it's funny because the people who are listening, you have to be struggling to like want to tune in.
Yeah.
Like who's happy wants to listen to that? I'd be like, no, I'm going to go watch a movie.
Yeah.
I digress.
But it's so funny because a lot of those people have reached out to me now later on, so many years later, and they're like, thank you for talking about this. I'm like, I tried to go, hello. Ooh. But it's fine. So I just like kind of put my head down, and my parents ended up separating, and it was a very tumultuous divorce. Lost our house. My phone was taken away. My car was taken away. Like I woke up and suddenly my car wasn't there. Like everything was just, it was very, they love them so much.
Of course. Oh yeah. No, we love our parents, but they really did a lot of crazy things. And this is why we are the way we are. Not great, but we're fine now.
Yeah.
Wasn't good for a long time though.
Right. Oh, they were at war with each other, and they didn't think about the impact on me and my brother. They thought about what they were going through, and they were leading with their very painful emotions that they were experiencing. So now as an adult, I give them a lot more grace because I can see with my emotions, a lot of times I can't think about what's happening around me. I can only focus on my own reactions. So I totally get it a lot more now. However, at the time, I ended up spending most of my time with my grandparents. They became my whole world. So when I graduated high school, I went to college. My grandfather, a total flip phone guy, got an iPhone so he could FaceTime me. And he would FaceTime me every morning for a cup of coffee. So I worked 50 hours a week to put myself through undergrad. So every morning I would finish my Panera Bread shift at 7 a.m. and he would FaceTime me. We'd have a cup of coffee. Every day after class, I would FaceTime him as I walked back to my dorm or apartment and tell him all about like the cute boy who sat next to me or the teacher who gave a ridiculous exam. And then every night for dinner, as I was walking into my closing shift at Build-A-Bear, he would FaceTime me, show me who he was like having dinner with and what he was doing. So he always made me feel like I was part of his life and that I mattered, my existence mattered. And then my grandmother all night would stay up on FaceTime with me while I was like crying about my schoolwork. I was getting so sick all the time because I wasn't eating. I wasn't taking care of myself. I had patches on my skin losing color because my kidneys were shutting down. School ended up getting involved. And which was actually really great. They ran my blood work every couple of weeks. They had me with the nutritionist. They were monitoring my diet plan in like the dining hall, making sure I was actually eating.
Wow.
And just putting things on my plate at least. And then had me as a trainer to help build some muscle back because I was passing out a lot. So I was very lucky that school intervened. My grandparents, my whole world. And I had heard someone graduate college in 3 years, decided I was going to do it in 2.5 because once you graduate college, they tell you life's going to work out. They're like,
oh man.
So I thought, well, the quicker I get through this, the quicker everything's going to be okay. So getting ready to graduate, thank goodness for my grandparents. 3 weeks before graduation, the week of my final exams, my grandparents get into a car accident. I lose my father, almost lose my grandmother, skip my final exams. Thankfully, only one teacher made me take it on Zoom in the hospital room next to my ops man teacher. I will never forget that. But so then I slept in a hospital chair next to my grandmother for 10 days, went to every single physical therapy appointment, every doctor appointment, took her for surgery she had to get. I did not leave her side. I slept when she got out of the hospital, on an air mattress on the floor next to her because I was so scared to even lay in the bed with her because I didn't want to hurt her. So I just did not really take care of myself at all during that time either, because I needed to grieve and feel what I was feeling. But how could I do that when she's struggling and she needs someone? So I didn't see that I could also take care of myself during that. I just thought I had to give everything to her. And so Christmas Eve rolled around a month later. It was the first time in 16 years that my grandparents and I weren't going to wake up Christmas Eve morning and lay in bed together watching The Grinch and have a piece of dark chocolate. And it was hot chocolate for me until I was 15. Then it changed to cappuccino, but I always like to say cappuccinos.
Oh.
That was never going to happen again. So I attempted to end my life Christmas Eve. My uncle was the one who noticed what was happening. And he, my body was white, my lips were blue, I was shaking. And he was the only one who wasn't she's being dramatic. Everyone was she's being dramatic. This is because she doesn't eat.
Are you serious?
Something is wrong.
And who's everyone? I need to know, who's everyone? Who are these people?
My entire family. It was Christmas Eve dinner. So my God. And they didn't know because they wouldn't expect it. It's not something that I ever thought about. So I guess it makes me really angry. And then at the same time, it makes me really sad that no one was talking about that enough to recognize the warning signs, to recognize what was physically happening to me in that moment. But he talked to me. He actually laid in bed next to me all of Christmas Eve, was terrified to leave my side because he didn't want to bring me to the hospital because what if they locked me up? But he didn't want something to happen to me. So he was so scared to see what to do. And he talked to me about getting help, about therapy, medication, supplements, nutrition, exercise, all these things that could play a role in how you're feeling. 27 days later, he died by suicide, and my heart shattered.
I cannot believe how much you've gone through. Just want to acknowledge that. Keep going.
So he got it. When he was talking to me, when he was next to me watching and knowing what to do, he felt that so much in his heart. He knew what was happening to me, and he so badly wanted to protect me. So when I didn't save him, I didn't protect him, I pulled up to the house minutes after with the cops. So I felt like I just missed saving him, and I moved in with my aunt and little cousins, trying to take care of them like I did with my grandmother. Ended up not taking care of myself, attempting 2 more times, hospitalized in a psych unit. And I will say one of the best things about it was I was finally surrounded by people who got it, and I wasn't the only one. And it wasn't it's in her head anymore. It was this is real. However, I could not imagine a place darker than my brain until I walked through those doors. It was hospital cold, but the walls were beige and falling apart, and the windows were so thick, there was no light. And they'd wake you up at 4 a.m. to do blood work every single day. So you weren't really getting much sleep. They had this very strict schedule. And if you weren't out and ready at 8 a.m. to 8:30 for breakfast, you weren't eating. Right? It was so hard to get water. I didn't get water outside of my meals for 7 days. To shower, there was a grown man watching me. You did not have any rights, any privacy.
Whoa.
You weren't respected as a human. It was just, this is our legal obligation to keep you here. And that's it. So I'm very grateful that I made a point to learn everyone's name and everyone's story. I don't know why I did that. But
I would do the same. I relate to so much of what you've said. You've gone through so much though, but there's this desire for you to you want connection.
Yes.
Through all of this, I'm hearing so much that the primary people who were supposed to take care of you and connect with you, to give you that safe, secure connection, not having that, all you've been seeking, and you got it from your grandparents, and then that was taken away from you, and then your uncle, that was taken away from you too. And in the psych unit, you're like, well, can I connect with you guys?
Yeah. And it's like, I remember in my very first like group therapy session in the psych unit, no one would talk. And I'm thinking to myself, we're all in a room where finally the other people around us get it. Yeah. And yet, because of the way we're treated, the stigma from the environment itself, from probably everything we've all gone through, we're terrified to even talk about it. And I was like, that blog I started when I was 12, that podcast I started when I was Blog Talk Radio Show, 15, that was going to like come into play somehow and be something that helped and gave us a voice back, because I felt like I had no voice. I couldn't ask for anything I needed. When I met with the psychiatrist, it was like, well, you're depressed, so you need to take this antidepressant. And if you give someone with a bipolar disorder an antidepressant, you go into like a manic or hypomanic episode.
Oh my, I had no clue. Tell me more.
Yeah. So I ended up, for the first few days after it, my personality shifted overnight. I was bubbly and running around. I mean, we had a karaoke night and I had backup dancers and singers running to the psych unit. We got in a lot of trouble. No snacks that night. I was really mad. They loved my oranges. But bad behavior, I guess. So, but I went from like crying, refusing to stand up out of the bed to suddenly like the most bubbly, energetic person that you would never expect to have struggled. And by the time I got out, I was like screaming, begging my mom to stab me. Like I could not, like it went so high and then so low. And everyone just thought, well, she's depressed and dramatic. And no one thought like, oh, this is a side effect of the medication. And you would think the psychiatrist or the nurses around would notice that shift in behavior and be like, oh, this could maybe be bipolar disorder, not just depression. And let's find another medication. But no, they set me up for failure there.
It is so heartbreaking to know that you've experienced it, because most of the time we only hear about those stories, but I've never heard what it really feels like day in and day out. I have had one friend who was forced into a 5150 and they should not have been there. Like nothing really terrible had ensued, but sometimes they just pathologize. And of course you were struggling, but with the placement in the unit, there's no proper care. And I just cannot believe after that, not that you were worse off, but wow, it just didn't make any progress. And you probably had to start from zero again.
Yeah. And I was even more afraid to like reach out for help.
I don't
want to end up back there. So trying to find a therapist that I could talk to, that I could like not say the truth, but say enough that I could get some help, but not too much that they were going to throw me back there, because once you're in the system, it's so hard to get out of it. So many people there were just stuck in the cycle because they still wanted to end their life. And instead of giving them tools and resources, it was, well, we need to lock you up for safety. So I was so determined to not end up back in the system that for so many years, I refused to actually let myself get any help. I refused to take any medication or try medication again for years because I didn't know what was going to happen to me. It was such a traumatizing experience, because in a place where they're supposed to actually help you, for so many people, it's the first time they're actually getting help. There was nothing in place to actually help you. It was just that legal responsibility. And a lot of that goes to not having a lot of funding, not having a lot of training in there, and just it's really not a fun experience. And it really sucks that so many people, that's the most help they ever get, is going into the psych unit. So afraid of any help ever again in the future because of it.
That is such a systemic problem. And for them, they're either in prison or their own prison. But even when they're out of the psych unit prison, they're afraid of being thrown back in there. I cannot imagine that. I'm curious because I've never been able to talk this in depth with someone who has bipolar. Would you mind like sharing, or if I can ask, like, what did it feel like to find out that you had it? And what does bipolar look like for you day to day prior to having mood stabilizers now? And how do you feel about it now?
Yeah. So when I finally got the diagnosis, I was the one who asked my therapist.
Of course.
Because I was right.
Of course you were. You're like, listen, let's just like let's just go through this list and tell me what I have.
Yeah, let's open the DSM, see what happens.
Yes.
So one day I was like, because I would have, since I was little, these like, I was so confident on top of the world, or I was like so down. So my grandparents and my parents would always be like, are you on drugs? Or are you like being dramatic? Like, these are your two options.
Everyone has called you dramatic so many times. And I really I want you to get back to what you're saying, but just, I think so many of us who have struggled with our mental health have been called dramatic or too much, or the person in the family that's stirring the pot, causing issues, wanting to talk about stuff, wanting to analyze situations. Growing up, my parents would always be like, stop analyzing everything. I'm like, I'm just observing and wondering why you guys are so messed up and mean. Hello? Okay, continue. So you asked your therapist.
Yeah, so I asked my therapist, I'm like, do you think that maybe this isn't depression, but it's bipolar depression, which is bipolar II? And she was like, yeah, I've been thinking about that for a while. And I was like, oh, well, usually take some mood stabilizer, and that helps steady them out so that they can finally learn these tools, right? When you're so stuck between these highs and lows constantly, it's hard to get to a place where you can actually focus enough to start working on these tools. And
I love that you said that. I love that you said that, because a lot of people don't realize that a therapist is not allowed to tell you or take an assessment to diagnose you. That is a psychiatrist or, a psychologist. And a lot of people can only go to one. So then you're like, wait, so in order to get medication and be told what I'm going through, I have to see somebody else?
Yeah.
Continue.
I know the system sucks. Like, I have to pay for two people?
No, and the psychiatrist is so expensive. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I know. I have a huge bill for my psychiatrist.
No, it's terrifying.
And so then I finally met with the psychiatrist, and to this day, so I've had 3 psychiatrists total. One in Florida I had for years before I moved to California and had to switch.
You're from Florida?
Yes.
Okay, what part? Sorry, I keep interrupting you, and this is my ADHD, but I will forget.
Parkland.
Oh, okay. My boyfriend's from Lakeland.
Oh, nice.
Next to, right, do you know where that is?
That's around Orlando, right? Tampa, Orlando?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was just there. Anyway, continue.
Nice. I love it over there. So I was in Bradenton, just outside of Tampa, for my brother's wedding.
Oh.
Yeah, so
sweet.
But yeah, so to this day, I want to say about 2 months ago, we still just changed the dose on my medication. They're still figuring it out. I want to say 4 years later. So it has been such a process, because I had one psychiatrist who decided to just reduce from 300 milligrams to 100 milligrams without titrating down, and that did not go well. And then I had a neurologist who prescribed a medicine for my migraines, but it also can work as a mood stabilizer. But that one brings you down versus the one I take brings me up, because I spend most time in a depressive episode. So they were fighting each other and canceling each other out.
Perfect.
So yeah, right. So now I have a clinical pharmacist that I meet with, her and the neurologist, but the clinical pharmacist is always on those calls to make sure there's no interactions whatsoever.
Oh my God. Okay.
So I have to add another person to my...
No, I can't believe that. And I think that anyone listening is probably, this is because it's a question that I have too, and I've gotten asked a lot. How are we affording all of this? What does that look like? How are you paying for this?
Yeah. So I've been really lucky that I've been able to find them on my insurance. My psychiatrist thought they were on my insurance. They said they were. Then all of a sudden they gave me a bill for $5,000, and I had to pay them. And we got it all covered. Insurance ended up covering it. Are
there co-pays? Is there co-insurance? How do you get your insurance?
I was paying the co-pay from the insurance for what my insurance amount is. And then they send me a bill months later. And I was like, you've been charging me my insurance copay. You said you were on insurance. Like, this feels like fraud. So that was really hard. And if you meet so I use a hospital group, Cedars-Sinai, and if I meet with two of the doctors at once, I pay one copay. Versus if I meet them separately, I have to pay both. So that's why I like to do them together.
Interesting. You mean like in the same room or at the same time frame?
So same. So we usually do Zoom. So that way or they're like medical proxy thing. So that way it's one appointment. So that's.
And what is a copay? I'm just asking for anyone because I feel like a lot of people never get to hear like the real what does it look like for them? Like if they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I know everyone's insurance is different, but what is the amount of copay? Like for me, it's $60 for one psych appointment. But it used to be $35. It changes. It's terrible.
Yeah, mine used to be $25. Now it's up to $45.
Yeah, that makes sense. And because the actual cost of it, if you did not have insurance, is around $375-ish, just for all you to kind of know. It's crazy town. And do you buy your own insurance? Yeah, because you're 27, right?
I'm actually, because I am not married and I'm self-employed, I'm still under my mom's insurance till I'm 30, unless it changes before I'm 30. So I'm very lucky for that.
Wait, I love that. I got to tell my boyfriend because he's 27. Yeah. I'm 32 and I've been buying my own insurance since I was 26, and it is $590 a month. And you don't even get any coverage. You like are paying the full amount of stuff unless it's like an insurance agreement. So all of you listening, we get it. It is horrible, but we are lucky to at least have insurance. So I'll say that.
Yeah. I remember when I turned 26, I was really anxious because I did not know how to find my own insurance. No. And then when I was getting quotes, it was so expensive. And I was like, I was just graduating grad school, student loans, right? And then I have my own business I decided to start. So trying to navigate living in Los Angeles and paying those bills, prices, and paying back my student loans and trying to make a business work. I was like, I can't take this on. What am I going to do? So I was so grateful when my mom was like, actually, I think I can add you to mine. Wow. And because I had a job from my dad's when I turned 26. So then my mom was able to add me. I think it was because it's a corporate business insurance. So that also matters versus a personal insurance. You can't be on your parents at 26.
Wow. So much of what we've been talking about, your connections have been with I'm sorry, I know I'm not a host. I genuinely talk like this to everyone, and I'm so sorry. I'm very nosy because I just find it so fascinating. A lot of your deepest intimacies and connections, familial wise, was people that are not your primary parents, at least in the past. How had that changed? Or when you were living with your grandparents, what was the dynamic with mom and dad? And what was your connection with them till now?
It was really, it was so hard because they were in such a bad place. It was really hard. And now, fast forward all these years, my parents can really co-parent well when it comes to me. My dad's probably like my number one fan when it comes to my work. He constantly check in to see what I'm working on. Usually every day he'll ask me and tell me that he's like so excited to see what's going to happen. And he's like, I know you're going to make it big. So he's very good with that. And when I'm having a really hard time, they'll both go for coffee with me or go for lunch with me together, which they never in the past were able to do that. They've gotten a lot better at doing it. So we've gotten to such a good place where we have a co-parenting group chat, and I just send them updates all day, every day of what's going on, and they'll interact. So night and day. But once they finally got to a place where they could regulate their emotions, then they were really able to show up as parents, which was
girl.
But until then, they just didn't have the tools themselves.
Girl, I have never heard of anyone else experience this besides myself. Parents, I cannot believe you are saying this because no one has the privilege of having this story arc of parents who were so dysfunctional, so unhappy, finally separated, needed boundaries, hated each other. Well, more so my mom was like, my dad was just had a lot of narcissistic traits. And after they separated, I needed boundaries from them. I was like, y'all just, we're not getting along. And then they really worked on themselves. And now they're amazing co-parents. We always hang out together. And even the flying thing, sometimes my dad is like, hey, do you need me to fly mom to like just want to visit you? Because they live in Chicago. Like, I can't believe I'm so happy for you.
So happy for you too.
Seriously.
These aren't stories that you often get to hear, because a lot of times parents don't know to work on themselves, right? Because they were conditioned from their parents and the generations before. And it wasn't a world where they grew up talking about these things. And I will say, out of this psych unit, I wrote a guide for my parents, a conversational guide. And
I love this.
Talk to me unless you use these words, like validation statements, supportive statements, understanding statements, non-judgmental, open-ended questions. Like, I defined everything. I gave them actual phrases they were allowed to use, how to follow up with me. Like, they had how to actively listen, all the way down to eye contact and body language. Like, I gave them the exact guide. And to this day, my dad will use a validation statement from the little worksheets I gave him. And I'm like, that made such a difference, because they didn't have the tools. They didn't know. And thankfully they were open to, I think when it wasn't working, not using them, they were finally open to, let's meet her where she's at. And I think visiting your like child in the psych unit after they attempted really did change a lot for them.
Well, I would hope, it could not be more dramatic besides going to your grave.
Yeah.
I would hope so. And I'm so amazed by them. And I think it's really courageous of parents who, of course, they should have always been that, right? We want that, but they don't know how to. And when I look back on every massive argument I got in with them and how many times I would try to guide the conversation, say, okay, I'll say this. Can you say this? I'm just trying to talk to you. I'm not trying to attack you. All of the efforts that you have put into teaching and all the efforts that I did to basically, my parents would always say to me, they still say this. They're like, I'm so glad you went to therapy because like you helped our family come back together. And it is really sweet. I view it only positively now, but back then I was like, are you serious? You need to go
do all the work.
Yeah. And now I'm like, it's okay, because you know what? Like you said, they changed, they were open, and that's such a gift.
It really is. And I think it brings a lot of hope to people to know maybe my parents won't go to therapy, but maybe I can start to. And maybe it doesn't work, and maybe it does. Maybe it does work, where they'll be open to hearing the tools that you need and the support that you need. A lot of times I learned from my parents specifically, their reactions came out of fear and not knowing.
Right? And defensiveness.
Not respond. Yes, defensiveness. The frustration, just not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Right? And just being told, like, your kid's crazy if they go to therapy. Something's wrong with them. So being able to get to a place where finally they listened is amazing. And I really hope more people get those kind of experiences. But I had to do the work to get them to a place where they were ready to really hear me and see me. And they've done a fantastic job since.
And I think too, even if our parents had not responded, the biggest win that I had in my personal experience was just vocalizing things to them that I had held in, because a lot of parents cannot handle the feedback, the emotions, the things we've stored in, and just getting that out, whether you get a horrible response or a good one. Like, I got the worst responses from them in the beginning. They'd be like, why are you trying to shame me? That was a long time ago. How are you bringing all this stuff up now? And I was like, well, I just don't think that I ever fully understood how I felt. That is a relief, just to get that out of your burden in your body. Like, just saying it out loud and releasing it. It's not so much about how people respond. It's how you feel putting it out there.
Yeah. What was the most powerful statement you think you ever vocalized?
Girl. So I don't know if you ever experienced this, but you know, when you're going to therapy, you're like getting real riled up because you're like, oh my God, I have all this insane anger. Like, I literally hate you. You were the worst dad ever. And I came home like, I was in college and I think I came home for like a holiday break, and I had just seen my therapist, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to confront my dad. I don't even know what I said because I was in a like blind rage, screaming, crying, wailing, just every emotion I'd had. And he was so taken back. And then I remember, because I was in my own world and my own emotions, I was like, how are you taken back? You should better just like get down and apologize. I think when I was able to gather my thoughts more as a more centered adult, because that was like in my 20s, I think it was more so telling them what I really needed versus just a criticism of what they hadn't been. Like, I could definitely incorporate that, but I'd say, I just want you to actually care about me. I want you to be able to put your selfish needs aside to just listen and be present. I think that mostly helped because he had no clue how to be a parent.
Yeah. It's so hard when you finally like can recognize within yourself, then go to share it and wait to see what happens.
It's so dramatic.
But it's so powerful because for the first time you feel like you have a voice.
Yes.
Right. And it's like, maybe they'll hear me this time. And if not, I finally heard me.
Yes. Period. And knowing that, like, I think having a therapist or having a friend or someone in my life to validate my feelings was the only reason I felt confident to say anything, because as kids, or really as people, we, like you said, maybe even perceive ourselves as very dramatic or crazy. Yeah. So until someone gives you permission to feel those things, why would you ever feel confident enough to say that to the person who may have hurt you?
Yes, that is so true. When you're never allowed the space to feel, right? And it's always wrong to feel that. How are you finally going to be able to vocalize it in a way that makes you feel like you have a right to talk about it, right? That you can actually feel this way and share it. And that deserves some kind of, hopefully, respect, if it's not from the other person, from yourself, right? Like, I'm not bad and wrong. I am a human being that just wants to feel loved.
Yeah. What you just said is, I'm not bad, I'm not wrong. I remember did you have a time in therapy where you really tackled shame? I feel like that's like a big thing, right? That was such a vulnerable part because I knew I felt very ashamed, but I never really even had that word. I just knew I hated myself. That was my only phrase. I did not have the language. So my therapist was like, you have shame, you feel like you do bad things, but you need to separate your identity from it. Like you just said, I always thought I was bad. I always thought I was the problem. I always thought that I was hurting myself. Like when I binged every night, I was like, I'm such a loser. Like, I'm the problem, because who's doing it? Me. And it's so hard to let go of the control of hating yourself and that little power it gives you to blame something when you actually don't have a specific thing to blame. You have your whole life before it to have to unveil and unravel.
And that, like, I hate myself thing, right? Because we don't know. We just think that we are, like you said, the problem, that we're bad, that we're wrong, because that's what we were taught. That's what we were conditioned for. Having these big emotions, we were just like, something was wrong with us. So of course, becoming an adult, right, as you keep going through life, all you see is, I still have these emotions, therefore I am bad, I am wrong, and I hate myself for it because I don't want to be this way. And I think that I should be able to just snap out of it. And when I finally was able to learn that, I mean, it's still something I struggle with all the time, but I was finally able to learn to, like you said, separate that from my identity. I can recognize it now and say, okay, I don't hate who I am. I hate feeling this emotion. And now I can start focusing on the emotion instead of spiraling with, I don't want to be here. Instead, it's, let's work on that feeling.
I always kind of would roll my eyes when people say like the power of the tongue, because I'm like, oh my God, that sounds so stupid, first of all, but like the power of your words and the way you talk about yourself. And I was talking to my friend, she is visiting from Dallas and we were catching up and just talking about things we were struggling with or negative thoughts we have about themselves. And I was like, yeah, no, I literally think that I'm lazy, ugly, annoying, etc. And she was like, you have to change that every morning. And I was like, Chase, this is a little corny, but she was like, every morning I wake up like, I love my life. I love my friends. I love my home. I'm going to be successful. I am beautiful. And I was like, oh, the corniest stuff is corny because it's good and it works. And it's not corny. It's actually just so genuine and positive. And I have gone through so many negative things that I'm learning to view the positive as real, not corny. I think that's why I've always coined it corny, because it seems impossible to be happy.
That is so true. Oh, I'm going to reflect on
like,
that.
What's corny about being positive? How is that corny? It's not.
And like celebrating who you are, right? And who you can be. It's not like we're taught that makes us conceited and bad. And like we need to come down.
Dial it down. It's like, dial it down. It's like, no, I actually need to really dial it up because it's pretty low.
Yeah, really. Okay, we are at our time. So
Perfect.
Our conversation went so fast.
I know.
Right, it was so good. As we're wrapping up, what's one last thing you'd like to leave our audience with?
Ooh, let me think. That's a high pressure question in a good way. If there's anything that you struggle with, is there a way for you to view that as a way to ask yourself what you're lacking and what you need, not what you're failing at, not what you're not doing, more so you need more fulfillment in some way, whether it be emotional, physical, environmental, socially, and what would it be like to fill your cup more than break yourself down and criticize you? I feel like your struggle would be possibly a tiny bit more manageable day to day if you thought about adding something than taking something away.
I like that. Just learning.
I don't know.
I like that. Just caring for yourself instead of punishing yourself. We're taught to take things away from ourselves, to beat ourselves up, put ourselves down. Often no one's talking about how, because we're taught self-care and boundaries are selfish, we don't realize that that's actually what can save us. It's not selfish. It's self-preservation. Okay. So where can people find you, connect with you?
You can find me anywhere. Just type in Kelly, Kelly, and the letter U. I have Instagram, TikTok. I'm filming in my podcast studio right now because I'm launching a podcast at the end of this year. And stay tuned. If you follow me, you'll be the first to know.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'm so excited for you. Thank you so much for joining me and for making me feel so seen today. I really needed this.
Me too. And thank you for letting me ask you so many questions. I really loved hearing about your life and your experiences. And it's so crazy because most of the things we've both gone through really don't have much alignment, but the feelings and the lackings and the emotions are quite the same. And that's what I want everyone to realize. Like, you don't have to go through the same stuff to relate to people. Everyone's got something. Even if you think they're perfect, even if you think they've never had trauma, everyone has something to connect with you on.
Thank you so much for listening to Normalize the Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This podcast is an initiative of Inspiring My Generation, focusing on normalizing the conversation, bringing education and awareness to the forefront, and amplifying global voices to spark change and hope. Inspiring My Generation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission towards suicide prevention through awareness, conversation, education, and support. Connect with us on Instagram at Inspiring My Generation and visit our website inspiringmygeneration.org to learn more about our work and how you can make a difference.